Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. I think we are okay. So it's good. Okay. So a very warm good morning and good afternoon to all of you, depending upon the time zone you're in. I'm really excited to welcome our panelists in today's session. We have three amazing minds with us from the world of e-commerce and retail who are going to share some amazing insights and stories about their brand and how they have built their businesses over the years. Uh, Without further ado, I would like to make a formal introduction of our panelists. Uh, First, we have David Stevens. David is the founder and CEO of IG Works. He's the creator of iHarvest and he's a seasoned entrepreneur and he believes in problem solving. His company IG works in the field of innovative and beautiful solutions for anyone that wants to grow healthy, nutritious, and delicious food indoors, anywhere, all year long. So that's a very, very interesting company that David has built. David, welcome to the panel.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Next, we have on the panel with us is Angela Arena. Angela is the founder of Kind Lab. Uh, she's an accomplished executive and an entrepreneur with an MBA from Boston University. She has previously worked as director of IT governance and effectiveness for FedEx, and she has expertise in strategy and operations in startup agency and Fortune 100 companies environments. And her company, Kind Lab, brings you better living through nature with natural wellness solutions with CBD-rich hemp and plant-based ingredients. And their company mission is to make plant-based wellness accessible to women seeking to live a natural lifestyle and make them feel healthy, calm, and energetic. Angela, thank you for joining in. Welcome to the panel.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Next, we have on the panel with us is Gina. Gina is the founder and CEO of Bohemian Mama, and Gina has spent 20 years in the world of in corporate business development executive, working with Fortune 500 company, and she has expertise in brand development, strategy, and portfolio management. And her brand Bohemian Mama is a lifestyle brand uh, with a vision to empower women with a platform to make more sustainable and ethical decisions for themselves and their children without compromising aesthetics. And her brand is committed to future generations and her brand also has a highly curated collection of top independent bohemian brands that are organic and sustainable. She's really passionate about music and giving back and has spent many years volunteering for national organizations such as Musicians on Call, bringing music therapy to patients bedside at local hospital. Gina, that's wonderful. That's very, very amazing to know what you're doing. Thank you so much for joining in. Uh, I'm really excited. I'm I'm Kuldeep from Enalito Automation. I'm going to be your so we are an AI company working in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And my first question for you, all of you, is around purpose. What is the purpose of your brand and why you do what you do? Let me begin with Angela.
Sure. So, um, a lot of times brands are inspired by people's own experience, kind of like necessity is the mother of invention. I was in a situation where I was working with a medical device startup
Mhm.
and I was so stressed out. And I got to the point where I had such bad anxiety induced insomnia that I hadn't slept for weeks. And a friend finally convinced me to try cannabis, which I was very much against because it was illegal. And if the government says it's illegal, it must be bad for you. So, of course, I tried it, worked fabulously well, and I couldn't figure out why nobody was talking about this natural solution that was extremely effective with barely any downsides. I mean, cannabis is virtually non toxic to humans and it's impossible to fatally overdose. You can't even say that about water. So, um, I started doing more research, and that was kind of learned a little bit more about why cannabis was illegal, understanding that it was mostly, racial and social issues there, and officially became one of those people. So my goal is to help end the stigma with cannabis, both on the hemp and marijuana side, and help people understand the truth behind the plant, how beneficial it can be. And so then it is more accessible to other people. So they don't have to suffer like I did, and they can access plant-based wellness. And hopefully it'll work for them as it did for me. And then they can, keep moving forward with their more natural lifestyle.
Wow, excellent. So it's something that came from your own problem that you faced, and wow, that's amazing, because when you're solving problem for yourself, it doesn't feel like work, and it's like uh, coming up with creative ideas and solving it and taking it to the next level. Excellent work, Angela.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to know more about that journey for where you started. Let me go to David. David, yours also is a very unique brand. Would love to know what's the purpose of your brand.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So my story is very similar to Angela's, actually, in terms of I was solving my own problem. I wanted to garden. I didn't have space indoors. I lived in a small apartment. There was a little bit of space outdoors that got sunlight, like really bright sunlight, for about 3 hours a day, and the rest of the day it was dark or shaded, and so I just couldn't grow much successfully.
Mm.
I started to look for something that I could grow with indoors that would grow a significant amount of my own food. And what I found were some very large, ugly contraptions.
Mm-hmm.
And when I dug deeper, I found that a lot of people were beginning to do this, and they were sometimes and very often making their own contraptions, their own gardens, hydroponic gardens. And these gardens ended up in their basements and in their garages because they were homemade, they were made out of PVC pipe, they were unattractive, but they worked great. And there was this community of people that were coming together and giving each other tips and understanding how to build these things and how to maintain these things. And I said, well, that's an opportunity. I mean, what you have mostly are a lot of, I would say, handy males, men who are developing these gardening contraptions to make more of their own food. And there's a much wider market of people who don't want to go through that effort of putting together and building from scratch and keeping this object that grows food in their garage or in their basement. And so I developed something that is beautiful for the living room, for the kitchen, that people can use to grow a significant amount of their food all year round, while, of course, more and more of us are living in apartments and condos and smaller spaces, and people have long winters or just environments that aren't very conducive to gardening outdoors.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that's something, again, that's coming from your own problem that you experienced, and then you try to solve it. That's amazing, tremendous, great. Let me go to Gina. Gina, what's the purpose of your brand?
Sure. So Bohemian Mama was started in 2015, right after I had my first child. As many new mothers do, they become hyper aware of the products they're using for not only their child, but for themselves. And I found that there wasn't really a place for moms like me in, dual income households that wanted to find a platform to shop for not just their children, but themselves in one place and have the
Hmm.
guesswork of sustainability and ethics and the sourcing of the products
Yeah.
taken out of the equation. So at that time in 2015, people weren't necessarily as hyper aware as they are even now, especially post COVID,
Hmm.
as to the supply chain and where their products are sourced. So that's kind of how Bohemian Mama was born. It's a place where we are highly curated and vet our brands for our foundational practices of sustainability and organic whenever possible.
Wonderful. That's amazing. So you are also solving the problem that you experienced. Wow, that's amazing. So as an entrepreneur, when you build these businesses, the most important challenge is kind of narrating the story of your product or of your brand. So what are some of the engagement strategies that you adopted in order to kind of take your brand, or probably what we can call it as an outreach, to acquire those early customers, early adapters? What marketing did you do in the beginning, in the first year? Because that is the most important element in order to establish that brand presence. Angela?
Sure. So I might be a little bit more unique in this space, primarily because, most of my background is in technology and operations. I didn't have a retail background at all when I entered, this space, the cannabis space. So I actually had a physical store, which
Hmm.
for me, because it was really early on in the space, was helpful because I got to really hone my strategy and help people like kind of get over that stigma. But once people really started catching on, a lot of my business did shift to e-commerce. And really what I did from a messaging perspective was focus on like, what are the barriers to people coming into this space? What worries them the most, and trying to hit those points as early as possible. And then of course, trying to be where my customers are. I'm very active in social media.
Hmm.
Word of mouth is a big deal for me. So online, I try to, do refer a friend and you both get a discount, that kind of thing. So that, because a lot of times in the industry wellness space, especially when you're ingesting something, people really do look for recommendations and they trust their friends and family a lot more than they trust a brand, to be honest. And so those are some strategies I've used to kind of build my customer base and then use them or leverage them and reward them for helping me continue to, expand that customer base even further.
Wonderful. That's amazing. That's amazing. How about you, David? How did you start it, and like, what did you do in the initial stages of your business?
So one of the things that surprised me, because I don't come from a manufacturing background, was the rather incredible upfront cost for what's called tooling. We're making these large metal parts that will ultimately make the food grade plastic parts that people have in their living room to grow with. So knowing that I didn't have that kind of money, there were kind of two things that I could do. I could look for investors and right off the bat sort of give up a large portion of the company, or I could consider something like a Kickstarter, which is what we did. And we ended up raising about $250,000 on Kickstarter, which was a wonderful success. We hired some professionals to do that with us. And the way that it started, of course, was just marketing the concept to people and determining, is this something that people want? And when we got past that level and we found out, yeah, this is something that people wanted, what we started to do is we started to charge them $1 and say, are you willing to open up your wallet and actually give us $1 to get, our promotional pricing? And the more people who are doing that, the more people, they're not just clicking on their link and giving you their email address, they're actually giving you solid information to say, yeah, we intend to purchase. And so when we discovered that these people were willing to purchase, and of course, alternatively, if they did not decide to purchase or who did not decide to go forward, we would have given them their money back. But once we found out that there was a significant number of people who were interested in products like this, we went forward with the Kickstarter video and all of those things. And that gave us the capital to move forward with the tooling. And today, of course, we're focused on Facebook marketing, affiliate marketing, things like that, which I can go into more detail on. But that was how we started.
Wonderful. Excellent. So high cost initially, but I think that's good to know that you managed to pull that up through a Kickstarter campaign, and that speaks volume, because I think when people are contributing to your ideas, I think that's a big validation of the demand for your product, and that's you have already built your customer base and that awareness and outreach right from the very early stages. Excellent. Gina, how about you? What did you do initially when you kind of built your product, and like what in the early first year, what are the marketing strategies that you adopted in order to acquire your early customers?
So in the early first year, we had a very small website on Wix. I had always had the intention with Bohemian Mama to be an e-com company. I never believed in the brick and mortar space
Mhm.
uh, as a long-term goal. However, along the line, I did end up realizing that it was necessary for me to be able to get in the door with many of the brands that I wanted to curate. They oftentimes will not sell directly to just an e-commerce retailer, and they want to know you have a brick and mortar store. So that was something that came in about 2017. But prior to that, when I first opened, we had a mobile boutique. And in Southern California, that was a huge thing at the time. We did fundraisers, concerts, festivals, fairs, private events, fundraisers. So that was kind of a way for me to spread the awareness of the brand all over to many different markets without, having to wait for someone to necessarily walk into my store. I
Mhm.
was vigilant about connecting with the customer and collecting email addresses for every single person that we met, and then following up with them post purchase at the event to get them to shop my website. The website has obviously evolved significantly since then, but in the
Mhm.
beginning, that combined with constant leveraging of social media, paid media, and email marketing, I feel like is always something that's ongoing, but improves as you grow, and that was definitely there in the beginning as well.
Wonderful, amazing. Uh, my next question, which is a follow-up on this, is like after you built your establish your presence, what platform are you using for your online store? Is it like Shopify, Magento, and why did you choose that platform in order to grow your business? Angela?
Sure. So cannabis is an interesting space, even hemp and marijuana. From a
Yeah.
federal perspective, obviously marijuana is federally legal, but hemp is in the 2018 Farm Bill did get completely legalized. However, people still, especially federal level banks, that kind of thing, are still very hesitant to go in, just
Right.
because the repercussions for them are pretty extreme. If something goes wrong, like on my side, then they pay for it dearly. So
Yeah.
because of that, getting everything from a bank account, a credit card processor is extremely challenging. I was initially on Shopify. Shopify has incredible integrations for all sorts of marketing. The
Mhm.
trick is because they have their own credit card processing built in, they
Yeah.
don't integrate with many credit card processors because it's basically like kind of against their business model. They don't make that money. So
Mhm.
I ended up switching to WordPress because it is in WooCommerce, because it's open source. As long
Mhm.
as you find a host that's willing to host your site, the platform can't kick you off, where people are getting kicked off of Shopify, Square, and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So that's why I went with WordPress. It does, WordPress initially is free, and so is WooCommerce, and you end up getting all plugins and the price goes up. On the other hand, they have so many more integrations from a credit card processing and logistics and that kind of thing, because their business model is just that much different than like a Shopify or Squarespace.
Interesting. Good. So WordPress along with WooCommerce. Amazing. How about
Mhm.
you, David? What platform are you using currently?
I use Shopify. I'm pretty happy with Shopify.
Hmm.
Angela mentioned all of the integrations available through different systems. Shopify, one of the many things it allows me to do is integrate with my manufacturer, so with my shipping agent, so that they can ship products and my warehouse can ship products
Hmm.
the day of or the day after they're ordered, which is very nice. And it also allows me to work very closely with affiliate marketers, which has become a very significant part of our sales, is working with people who have owned and used the iHarvest, enjoy it, and like telling others about it through YouTube channels and other methods. And so it allows us to work very closely with them through some of those integrations of different apps on Shopify that allow you to do some special things.
Awesome. That's amazing. Good. Gina, how about you? The platform that you use?
So we started out on Wix back in 2015 simply because it was a cheaper platform, and within the first 2 years grew out of it significantly. I mean, it doesn't have any of the bells and whistles that Shopify does, which is the
Hmm.
platform we're on now.
Hmm.
For us, as a retailer, Shopify is, simply just one of the best companies out there for our needs.
Hmm.
We did implement two major dropship platforms,
Hmm.
APIs, post COVID. So it was great for being able to integrate with many other retailers. I'm sorry, many other brands, partners of ours to implement our dropship. Besides that, there's just hundreds of other plugins and applications that allow us to make our path to purchase more efficient and optimized.
Wonderful. Great. So Shopify and WordPress and WooCommerce, good. Okay. So after establishing your brand presence online and the last year has been challenging for your business, and hopefully this year will bring its own sets of opportunities, and again challenges can be there. And what marketing strategies have you planned for this year in order to kind of scale up your brand and kind of make sure that you have the highest retention rate, and so that you can take your revenue to the next, like how you can increase your sales number. So what strategies are you going to adopt this year in order to kind of market really, really well? Angela?
Sure. So this year has been a big pivot for us. Most of our revenue this time last year was coming through our brick and mortar store. And obviously that changed. We ended up closing our brick and mortar because just really everything moved to e-commerce. So
Mm,
a few things we've done to kind of try to mimic that in-store experience is, we have a lot of product pickers. We have a lot of like information. We're trying to really, really improve our SEO,
mhm.
as well as the structure of our site so people can navigate it easily. And more importantly, people can find it very easily.
Mhm.
So we've done that on our side, and it's probably true of Gina and David as well. Reviews are extremely popular because
Yeah.
people will look at your description and what you say, but then they'll read through the reviews and be like, oh, that person has a similar problem to me, or that person has the same problem. I'm going to try this product. So
Right.
kind of that word of mouth, trying to replicate that online. And then obviously my customer base is a little bit older. So social I don't get quite that return, but email marketing is extremely effective for me. So I have all kinds of incentives to sign up for our newsletter. And I try to push out a lot of information in our newsletter and focus more on that information and providing that value to customers versus like that direct sell. So those are some of the strategies that have worked for me, and I'm definitely going to continue pursuing in 2021.
Wonderful, amazing. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And as you have an offline store and kind of, yeah, which you choose to be a, a great channel for consumer engagement, suddenly if it gets paused, I think online is the only channel. And I think in the online space, yeah, it's an opportunity, but it's a challenge also because a visitor who comes on your store has a very, very limited attention span. And within that
Mm,
first 10 seconds, if you are able to make him stop for the next 1 minute, that's when you can expect conversions. And during that time frame, he's going to just make sure that he's going to scan the entire product page to find that relevant information. So I think all those attention to detail and like small little things can make a huge difference. So amazing.
mhm.
Gina, how about you? What plans do you have for this year for your marketing?
Yeah, so fortunately, even with the COVID challenges, we have increased our revenue 300% year over year this year.
Wow.
Very grateful for that. With that growth, we've implemented a lot of different strategies to improve our bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is our own private label. So that was in production when COVID hit, but it's significant increase to our bottom line to produce our own products. And at this stage in our business, we feel that our customers and our community trust the
Mm-hmm.
products we curate, and in turn would trust the products that we manufacture directly. So
Wonderful.
we just launched our own organic and sustainable clothing and home decor line for women and children. The second thing we did, as mentioned earlier, was implement the dropship program. We needed our hands on a different collection of inventory when COVID hit. We found that women were not buying for themselves. They weren't buying formal clothing. We went from a 70-30 offering of women's versus children to the complete opposite during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and had to pivot quickly to offering mostly children and some women's. And with that, it wasn't even as much clothing. It was toys, educational toys, things for keeping busy at home, and home decor.
Mm-hmm.
So drop shipping was super important to
Yeah.
be able to continue to grow
Mm.
and partner with brands quickly that we didn't currently warehouse. The third thing that we did was an affiliate program. It was a huge investment and a huge integration.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, CJ Affiliate, and then not just integrating CJ Affiliate, but appointing a management company
Mm-hmm.
to be able to monitor what we have out on the web and who is representing our brand and what kind of revenue they're going to bring to our channels. And then lastly, influencer partnerships. For us being in the fashion space and in the lifestyle space,
Mm-hmm.
we're able to work with a lot of different influencers to be able to spread organically through social media our brand. We invest heavily in paid media. Paid media and Google Shopping is, responsible for 70% of our revenue besides organic traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just really a recipe of a lot of different moving parts that
Wow.
kind of create that growth.
Wow. So you did that complete overall. So like you have covered all of your bases and made sure that you have engagement all throughout these channels. And I
Yeah,
think that's amazing. Good to know that. And yeah. Uh, David, how about you? Yeah. What are the plans for this year for marketing?
So COVID has been a tale of two stories for IG Works. It had an enormous impact on our supply chain costs, which have gone up by 2x or more. So that's been very difficult to deal with. But at the same time, as other brands are experiencing, more and more people are online shopping. More and more people are looking for things for the household. More and more people, there's a food scarcity concern. There are people who want to go to the supermarket less. There are people who are very much focusing on eating healthier. So our sales are way up. So it's a tale of two stories. One thing is we're sold out for a variety of reasons. Right now, we're looking at having new units in early March, and that's a combination of things. That's because the supply chain is a complete mess, and because our sales are way up. So again, a tale of two stories. But
Wow.
how we're dealing with marketing in the next year is we've done very well with Facebook marketing. We have a Facebook group where people grow together, help each other grow, share experiences, successes, some failures. And I think that's really the proof in the pudding, where when people say, does this really work? We say, please join our Facebook group and watch these other people grow, see the community that you'll be a part of. And I think that's really something wonderful, where people can work together, see that it works, see that they can be successful with this sort of brand new indoor gardening luxury product that is not inexpensive, but adds real value to their home.
Wow. Well, nice problem to have where you have more orders and like, yeah, well, interesting problem. I hope the supply chain thing gets sorted out, hopefully in the next
It will.
quarter, maybe. Great. So now that my next question is about customer acquisition. So you guys all know who are your end consumers, and you have already the buyer persona in your mind, and you're leveraging all these different channels. But what kind of ROI are you getting from your advertising or from your email campaigns? And are you happy about it, or what are you trying to do differently in order to kind of improve that ROAS on ad spend, probably like depending upon the channel that you're using? Angela, where do you do your ad spend, like Facebook, Google Ads, or depending upon the vertical that you're in?
Sure. So again, because it's hemp in the cannabis space, it's social advertising is really
Yeah.
difficult. You can see a lot of ads now, especially on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Those are really good for awareness. A lot of the times, if you kind of click through, you'll see people are constantly like creating new handles and coming up with new Facebook pages because they keep getting shut down.
Yeah.
So that has become a very much a game of cat and mouse on Facebook and Instagram for in the CBD space, as well as like extremely expensive. It's fantastic for brand awareness. It has a lot less of a conversion rate. So we're really focusing on kind of the more placed media, like the live intent, that kind of thing, where we can put out articles. Again, the idea is like trying to deliver the value so people understand and making the plant-based wellness more accessible to people,
Yeah.
trying to push that content out a lot more and focusing on that content. We've also had, again, because of our customer base skews a little bit older, phenomenal success with email marketing. When we do when we have any kind of sales or specials or anything like that, we usually see a pretty big surge. And so again, that kind of is for us a reinforcement that, people are really interested in that content, which is why we're kind of shifting away from traditional social media and focusing more on that kind of paid placement and like relevant newsletters and that kind of thing, where people are looking for specifically for information and not necessarily shopping for products.
Excellent. So more content-driven marketing and product
Exactly.
education and awareness. That's excellent.
Mhm.
Amazing. How about you, Gina? And like, because the products that you're building, you mentioned the pointers like sustainable and ethical clothing. So how are you conveying that through your marketing, or like how do you see which channel has worked best for you in order to do that outreach for your brand?
Well, we are utilizing all channels as mentioned before. I've seen obviously some perform better than others. Our paid media team is constantly tweaking our ads and making sure we're A/B testing audiences. We
Mm-hmm.
integrate our Klaviyo platform, which is our email marketing, into our Facebook account. So we're focusing on our audience. We have about 40,000 email subscribers
Mm-hmm.
and their interests, and duplicating those audiences through our paid media efforts in order to expand our reach there. We're at about a 500% ROAS on ad spend with Facebook, which is really good. And, my guy's on it every day doing the tweaks on all those platforms. If you're not, then, you could be throwing money out the door. As far as Klaviyo is concerned, I think we could use improvement on our open rates. We are actively tweaking the format of our emails. The creative is always beautiful and interesting, but it's actually in the placement and how we utilize it in the body of the emails that we've made some changes and already seen better results on our open rates.
Mm-hmm.
Also, automations and flows. We do really well with retargeting. We do really well with our abandoned cart flows. We've implemented some affiliate partners through CJ to
Mm-hmm.
catch users that come to the site, maybe don't enter their email or don't add to
Mm-hmm.
cart. There's lots of different ways that we're working on currently to improve retention rate.
Wow, amazing. So 500% ROAS, that's tremendous. And I think good job by your team who are able to kind of constantly tweak that. Amazing. The one point that you mentioned, like you're very big on email campaigns. So with that bunch big list, you're sending an email. But when you're sending out an email campaign, are you sending the same email template to everyone? Like the same campaign goes to everyone?
So with our offering being so diverse and our customers, my ideal customer for the why I started the company is for a mother who shops for themselves with their children.
Mm-hmm.
But we have seen through the growth of the company that we kind of get both. We get the mothers that are only buying for their children
Yeah.
and don't really want to see content for women. And then we get women that come to our site who don't have children, who
Mm-hmm.
don't really want to be bombarded with content for kids, and they
Yeah.
turn off. They don't want to see it. So we're very careful to segment our lists
Mm-hmm.
based on the customer's interests, and we're constantly improving that as well to make sure that they're getting the content that they want to see.
Amazing. So you're making those changes there. Good.
Yeah.
Amazing. Uh, how about you, David? Which channel has worked best for you so far, and how's your ROI if you do paid marketing?
Yeah, so Facebook has been, in combination with affiliate marketing, our two most successful sales channels thus far. I'm going down, a similar road to what Gina's going down with Klaviyo. That'll be something that we are implementing soon. Heard great things, can see great things that they can do for us, so that will be exciting. Our return on ad spend is in the range of 7-8x, which is great. We have a premium product and an expensive product, so it really should be higher than most. But the Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, and affiliate marketing are by far our top two sales channels.
Excellent, amazing. So it's
Well, Zeke, I
working
want
really
to add
well.
to that.
Yeah.
Something that we haven't mentioned that has also been a great performer and is continuing to increase its conversion rate is SMS marketing.
Oh, interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, we've been doing, even setting up abandoned cart flows via SMS versus
Mhm.
versus a Klaviyo email flow.
Hmm.
we find a really great return on SMS, and it continues to.
Wow. That's a very great insight, yeah, because I think email has traditionally been the most successful way of engagement, but I think SMS is also doing its wonders nowadays. Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. Wow. I think for businesses who have a solid presence, I think they're able to kind of leverage all the channels very uniquely. They're able to convey their or narrate their story so well on all the channels. So, and that way they have like a very personalized experiences that they're able to build and without, and on the top of it, this new channel, which is the web push, basically the web push notifications. That is also kind of, we have seen like an evolving channel because that's something is kind of very subtle and you have to be very creative in order to convey your messaging with very few words, very in a limited space. So that's also one point that came to my mind when you mentioned about that channel. Amazing. My next question for all of you is around retention. So you guys have acquired a certain number of customers, yes, pre-COVID, post-COVID. I mean, during the pandemic, yes, everything shifted online. So there has been a huge surge in the number of consumers that you might have acquired. But how are you planning to retain your customers going forward? I mean, because I think there's a saying that 20% of your customers contribute 80% of your revenue. And acquiring a customer is extremely difficult and losing would be terrible thing for a business. So what things are you trying to do this year or going forward in order to have the highest retention rate? Angela, want to add something?
Sure. So my situation is probably a lot different than David and Gina. I actually have a really high retention rate. Mine is closer to 60%. So
Wow.
in any given month, at least 60% of customers that are coming are return customers. I think a lot of that is due to the fact that we had a brick and mortar store. So people are already used to coming in, and I've already been able to establish that relationship with those customers.
Right.
So where we're struggling more, which is why it's great to be on here and learn from David and Gina as well, is how do we get our name out there and it actually get more incremental new customers. So
Yeah.
I think we almost ironically have a little bit of the opposite problem. But the reason why we have such high retention is obviously the quality of our products, but also the confidence that we have gained with our customers and the loyalty based on the value that we deliver, and our empathy and kindness when we start talking about people's problems and connecting them with solutions that work.
Wonderful. That's amazing. 60% is an excellent retention rate, I can say. And I think it will continue to grow as more and more of your customers are able to get that value from the experiences that they have. Because I think those existing customers bring those additional customers. I mean, it's all word of mouth and the trust that you have built over the years. So that's excellent. How about you, David? How has the retention rate been so far for you?
You know, I compare the iHarvest to something akin to like the Dyson vacuum. You buy a Dyson vacuum, you know you're getting a premium product and you don't have to buy bags for the rest of your life from Dyson.
Yeah.
So part of our marketing is you buy this product from us and you are welcome to buy our supplies in the future. There are nutrients, there are net cups, there are pH monitors, all sorts of things that you can buy from us, but you don't have to. You can get them from wherever you want. You can get them from your local hydroponic shop. You can get them from your local gardening store. You can get them from Amazon.com. It's a different model now. So we do get a lot of return customers, but what we see a lot, like I'm rather shocked by this, is we see a lot of people buying a single iHarvest and then saying, I want to buy one more, I want to buy two more, I want to buy three more, which for a product that costs $850 is, I think, amazing and really demonstrates how happy people are with the product. That's another thing that people talk about in our Facebook group and share with others. That gives people a lot of comfort knowing that people are happy with their purchase and that they come back to purchase more.
Wow, that's amazing. So maybe in your case, I think rather than I say retention rate, I think the key KPI would be the repeat purchase rate that's kind of adding value. And I think your existing customer, they themselves are contributing a lot of revenue. That's amazing. I mean, that's something every business kind of work really hard in order to have those repeat purchases, and because you have a very high uh, like value cost of the product. I think that's tremendous. I think it's tremendous trust that you are able to build when the customer is having their first purchase. That's amazing. How about you, Gina? How have you seen your retention rate in the last few years?
Yeah, I agree with Angela. I do think I'm kind of on the opposing pieces of the pie with
Yeah.
regard to repeat business versus new customer retention. I do think that we've implemented, to answer your question directly, a loyalty program, which we are constantly growing, encouraging customers with coupons and points and free shipping for every single purchase they make. They get a point for every dollar spent. And we're actually utilizing our review program and implementing a new loyalty program that's directly integrated with our reviews program,
Mm-hmm.
offering the customer even more points value for leaving reviews and trying to encourage customers to get those reviews. But I think as far as retention goes, yeah, the loyalty program is probably our number one channel.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Yeah, I mean, those are some really, really interesting insights what you guys have touched upon. Like in case of Angela, it's like her off-store experience is helping her in having that high retention rate. In case of David, is because a customer, once he has bought one product from David, they love it and they go for the second and third purchase. In case of Gina, I think she's leveraging on the loyalty program really well, and having kind of gamification. Basically, I think customers value that. I think if you, for every action, when you get rewarded and you're accumulating those points which you can redeem later, I think that's kind of really the best way to kind of have that high retention rate in e-commerce, where customers always have the choice to switch from one brand to another, and that kind of help, as a brand, you are able to kind of nurture that relationship, and consumers kind of then focus mostly on buying from that one store rather than going to any other. So amazing. I think these are some of the excellent points that any business or someone who wants to venture into e-commerce or retail can just apply to their business in order to achieve scale. My next question for all of you is around consumer behavior. We have all seen that consumer behavior is very, very dynamic, keeps on changing. And how do you understand your consumer behavior? Like how do you deep dive into your Shopify data or WooCommerce data? Are you able to identify the pain points of your business? How do you, or are you able to identify the strength of your business? Or have you given any thought on these kind of pointers like strength or weaknesses identification from your own data? Have you done that so far, Angela?
So not as much as I should have, basically, which is why I'm looking forward to listening to David and Gina's answers. But we do, I know Gina mentioned, actually, I think they both mentioned Klaviyo, which is a great tool. It's a great way to segment, understand who's coming back to your website, where you've got the biggest open rates, and then starting to look at those customers and starting to figure out like, where are they coming from? And what areas, like geographical areas, are they in, which is a great opportunity for me to like focus some ad spend and that kind of thing. So analytics are extremely important. They can also give you a lot of insight into how optimal your SEO is, obviously.
Yeah.
It is one thing that I am definitely late to the party on. So as we talk about, how I'm going to try to improve, and it's probably a big reason why I have more repeat than new customers. When you're looking at new customers, like analytics is really your key to finding out where are they coming from, and then where do you go to reach more of them.
Wonderful. How about you, David? Do you deep dive into your store data, and what kind of insights do you like pay attention to?
Yeah, similar to Angela, it's not something that I've done enough of, but we have plans to do more of it in the future. We are focusing, I mentioned the Facebook and the affiliate marketing, and Angela mentioned I'm also focusing much more on SEO going forward. So we've been working on that for several months. That has really increased our organic traffic quite a bit, which is, the least expensive way to get new customers. So that's been very helpful. and we focus on writing blogs and on how to garden, on how to do hydroponic gardening, things like that, which attracts a lot of new people to the site and to the products.
Wonderful. How about you, Gina? In your case, like you have a huge customer list and like you are doing so many different channels and like using different tools in order to kind of do that engagement. So what are some of the pain points that you have observed that you're trying to kind of fix going forward?
So I wouldn't call them pain points. We meet with the team monthly to plan the next month's content calendar, and in order to do that, we pull the data and all the analytics from the prior month. What products sold most? What
Mhm.
products didn't sell at all? We kind of weed out maybe new brands that we gave a try that weren't successful, and make sure that we don't place those orders again. And then we over order on our evergreen products. Bohemian Mama has kind of a cult following for some of the independent brands that we carry. They come
Mhm.
back season after season, collection after collection, and we have a lot of brands that'll sell out on the first day of drop for kids.
Mhm.
Part of what I also have done to kind of keep my ear on the pulse of what our community is looking for is I'm in all of the Facebook mom groups. I'm in every single one of those groups, listening to their hot products, what they're buying, what they're liking. And that's how I've been able to pick up a lot of our very successful brands. Again,
Amazing.
it's a combination of different things.
Amazing. So you're making sure that you are having that social listening and kind of understanding or the pulse of the entire buyer persona and then
Yeah.
kind of iterative process and kind of utilizing those insights. Okay, that's amazing. And that's a very good point that you mentioned, I think, because I think the consumer, if somehow you are able to learn what the consumers are or thinking buying and then kind of making sure that you are in front of them all the time can make a huge difference. I think that can really really improve your numbers. I mean, ultimately it's all about outreach. Let's say if you have acquired 40,000, to acquire those next 40,000, definitely that's the way to go. Excellent. Like while we are coming to an end of this panel discussion, my last question for all of you is around what is that one piece of advice that you would like to give to budding entrepreneurs or someone who would like to venture into e-commerce or retail? There's several things that you can share, but if you would like to share that one thing, what would that be? Let me go to Gina.
I would love to answer that question because I think a lot of people don't understand that they think it's, so easy to have a website. Anyone can have a website, right? And
Yeah.
I also have a 2,500 square foot brick and mortar store, and that's actually a lot harder. I'm sorry, the website is actually way harder to run than the retail operation,
Hmm.
just because of the investment, how many moving parts. It's one thing to have a website, but you have to be found, and
Yeah.
in order to be found, you need to leverage multiple channels. And for someone that's getting into ecom that doesn't understand SEO, SEM, paid media, Google shopping, and they understand they need it, but don't understand how it works. They don't have working knowledge, basic knowledge to know they're not getting taken advantage of. I learned the hard way that it's an oversaturated industry, paid media. People will come to you every single day. They still come to me every single day promising me, 10,000
Yeah.
ROA monthly on my products, and an increase in revenue of 100,000 a month. People fall for this. They let themselves get into a paid retainer for companies that are going to put you into a template and set it and forget it, and they're never going
Mm.
to look at your income or care about the kind of growth that they're going to provide you. And I think my number one suggestion is that when people are going about hiring for these positions, that they have working knowledge enough to know that they're not going to get taken advantage of, and they're able to look at the dashboards, understand what they're looking at,
Yeah.
and understand if the company they hire is actually working for them proactively.
Yeah.
uh, my team is a bunch of scrappy, hungry people who are looking at it all day every day, but that wasn't always my team. And
Mm.
I learned the hard way that I needed to know enough about Google. I needed to know enough about SEO and paid media to know that the person that's working for me is doing their job.
Mm.
That's my biggest piece of advice to anyone doing
Wonderful. That's excellent advice. Amazing. Thank you, Gina. Let me go to David. One piece of advice from your end.
I completely agree with Gina. It's really important to find partners or employees, in my case, partners who are working for me. When it came to Facebook marketing, when I got started, you get so many offers for, oh, pay us this $3,000 upfront cost and then $3,000 a month, and we're going to do lots of sales for you, but we're not going to put that anywhere in writing, and it's not something that we promise, and it's a long term, and you just can't do those things with untrustworthy partners. They have to be working for you. So I've been very fortunate that I didn't get caught up in that mess. That I held out to find the right partners, people who create win-win scenarios where I win if they win and vice versa. So that's been very, very good. As far as just getting started out, I think for many entrepreneurs, they're entering new spaces. They may not have a background in the space. They may not have great people around them with backgrounds in the space. And so it's very important to be patient, to understand where you are, to understand that these things are not easy, and that you have to have that staying power and that grit to get through them. Certainly find ways to surround yourself with other people in these spaces who are going through the same issues that you are, who are having the same problems, and who may know more about certain segments of the business than you do. It'll be a big help to your survival, to understanding where you are and how to get to where you're going. Surround yourself with other entrepreneurs and folks who are going through what you're going through.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that advice, David. One final piece of advice from Angela.
Sure. So kind of building on what David said, I get a lot of inquiries, people like wondering, like, how do I get into the cannabis business? And there are so many resources out there for small businesses, not specific to cannabis, that people, I think, don't take advantage of. Being an entrepreneur, especially if you're a solopreneur, is very isolating. Networking groups are a phenomenal resource. The Small Business Administration, I know I'm like very anti-government, but they are like an incredible wealth of information and knowledge, and they really do their best to push out information. They've been incredible during COVID. And then, depending on the type of business you have, like local chambers of commerce that can connect you with, people who could offer products and services that could benefit your company, opportunities to even just practice your pitch and how you talk to people and get feedback on your messaging and really kind of start to hone that in. Mm-hmm. So look at the big picture, definitely take advantage of those resources that are out there. And then, kind of building on also what both David and Gina said, is understanding the scariest thing about being an entrepreneur is you don't know what you don't know. But it's important to really be able to identify that. And there's like kind of that saying, enough to be dangerous. You have to have that self-awareness to understand that there are a lot of areas where you know enough to be dangerous, and you need to make sure that you are getting really good advice. And that's where the networking groups and that kind of thing can help you out. So just be aware that there's a lot that you don't know. You have to be comfortable with that, and you're going to make mistakes, guaranteed. There's just no way around that. But figure out like what resources are out there to try to leverage them. And as they said, surround yourself with people who can kind of you can learn from their mistakes and kind of can give you like a little bit of leg up, so you can try to make less expensive mistakes if you can.
Wonderful, amazing. I mean, I must say, this has been an excellent panel discussion with all of you. And I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for taking out time today in joining the panel. You have been exceptional, because I think the insights that you have shared came directly from your heart. And I think you did not shy away from sharing your secret sauce. I mean, everything that you're doing, you just poured in. And I think this is something like, if someone is able to implement even 50% of what you guys have shared, well, sky is the limit. And because as Gina has touched upon, like, it's not, when you're building a business, you're not just building a website, you're building that engagement, you're building that trust, and you should be knowing things in and out about everything, be it related to the channel, be it related to the marketing efforts or paid media, or how you are going to convey that messaging for your end consumers. And every attention to detail matters a lot in case of e-commerce. And as things are evolving, I think sky's the limit for the retail world. And I think Gina's point really resonated. I mean, the way she's able to kind of touch and utilize every possible channel in order to increase her outreach and to engage with her end consumers. That's tremendous advice. Thank you so much, Gina, for sharing that, and how you do it is really, really amazing. Angela has also touched upon something really nice about the barriers and how she overcome those barriers in the beginning, and like how she's making sure that she has a very high retention rate by building that trust with the consumers and by taking help, by talking and networking with the right set of people. And David has, thank you so much, Angela, for sharing that advice and those thoughts. And again, what David has touched upon is again really, really amazing. Where when you're building a business, when you're thinking about a concept, try to get those early adopters in the very beginning, and that can really, really help you scale up your business so smoothly. And he has touched upon some really nice points. If you are trying to get into a product business, want to build a product, how you can leverage Kickstarter as a platform in order to build that initial capital to build a prototype and get in the business. And that can be tremendous, because most of the time those early barriers discourage people from entering into business. So uh, with this, I'm really, really happy and delighted to have get a chance to speak with all of you today, and look forward to hosting you all again in our subsequent panel, maybe on another set of topics. And I will be in touch and would love to learn more from you. So thank you once again, Gina, Angela, and David. You guys have a great weekend ahead, and talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kuldeep. Great experience.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Angela. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.